Welcome to the second episode of Lachlan Does Footy, and today we're going to be reviewing the opening round and also making our predictions for rounds 1 and 2 because I'll be away next week. Reviewing the opening round, Sydney versus Melbourne. I had Melbourne by 6 points. At the end it was Sydney by 22 points. Sydney played very well in the second half, although the first half looked dull and boring. Jack Viney looked very good for Melbourne in the midfield, while Isaac Heaney looked good in the midfield for Sydney. The one I was very disappointed with was Errol Gulden. What a comeback by Carlton in the opening round. What an upset. I had Brisbane by 24 points, but it looked like that way, but the Blues came back to win by a point. Best players that day were Harry Mackay and Charlie Kerner. They kicked 7 goals between them for Carlton. Best player for Brisbane was Dane Zorko. What an impressive game from the Gold Coast. They were up by 70 points at one stage against Richmond. And that's Richmond. I don't know what's going on with them. I think Dusty Martin should have left. Matty Rowell looks very good. He had 20 clearances. I reckon he might be up there for the Brownlow medal in 2024. GWS looked very good in the opening round. They won by 32 points against reigning premiers Collingwood. And they made reigning premiers Collingwood look like they're playing under Nathan Buckley again. That's it for our opening round predictions. And now we are about to predict round 1. And for the first game of the round 1, it's Carlton versus Richmond at the MCG. I got Carlton by 60 points. Best players, I reckon it'll be Paddy Cripps and George Hewitt from Carlton. And for Richmond, although he didn't play last week, I got Dustin Martin. Second game at the MCG, we got Collingwood and Sydney. I reckon the Magpies will bounce back to win by 2 points. Best players, I'm going with Nick Dacos and his brother Josh Dacos for Collingwood. For the Swans, I'm going with Errol Gulden. Third game at the MCG, Essendon Hawthorn. I got Essendon by 4 points. Best players, I'm going with Zach Merritt and playing his first game for his new club, Xavier Dersma. He'll have a point to prove after he left Port Adelaide. Hawthorn, my best player I'm going with is John Newcombe. Next game, we got GWS versus North Melbourne at the newly renamed NG Stadium. I've got GWS by, 98 points. Best players I'm going with is Toby Green, Tom Green, Lachie Whitfield, and 10 goals from Jesse Hogan. The newly rebuilt retirement home at GMHBA Stadium with the Joel Selwood room being open. I got St Kilda winning by 10 points. Best players I'm going for the Saints are Jack Steele and Jack Higgins. Geelong, I got Ollie Henry. Now we're at the newly renamed People First Stadium in the Gold Coast, between Gold Coast and Adelaide. For the game, I got a draw. Best players, I'm going with Matt Rowell and Ben King for Gold Coast. For Adelaide, I got Jordan Dawson. We are starting off Sunday with Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs. I got Melbourne by 10 points. Best players for Melbourne, I got Jack Viney and Christian Petrarca. Western Bulldogs, I got Marcus Bontempelli. Next game, we got Port Adelaide versus West Coast at Adelaide Oval. I got Port Adelaide by 104 points. Best players, I got Zach Butters, Connor Rosie, first game as Port Adelaide captain, and I've got Jeremy Finlayson kicking 8 goals up forward. It's going to be an easy game for Port Adelaide and a long flight home from West Coast. Fremantle versus Brisbane at Optus Stadium in Perth. I got Fremantle by 6 points and an upset. Best players for Freo, I got Andrew Brayshaw and Luke Jackson. Brisbane's best player I'm going with is Josh Dunkley. I'm feeling Brisbane have a bit of weakness in them. Caden Coleman's just torn his ACL. Their backline's not going to look very good. And also, I reckon the reason why I got Freo winning this game because it's a bit of a trend every year. Every year Brisbane win against the Dockers in Perth. Freo usually win the next game. For our round 1 predictions, and now we're on round 2. We got St Kilda versus Collingwood at the MCG. It is a Collingwood home advantage. And it's St Kilda's only home game at the MCG. And I got Collingwood by 10 points. Best players for Collingwood, I got Nick Dacos and Darcy Moore. For St Kilda, I got Seb Ross. And it's going to be a good win for Collingwood. Adelaide and Geelong, I got Adelaide at Adelaide Oval Friday night. I got Adelaide by 48 points. Best players for Adelaide, I got Jordan Dawson, Rory Laird, and coming back from his absence, Tex Walker. I reckon It's going to be an easy game for Adelaide, and I don't think Geelong are going to do very well at Adelaide Oval. North Melbourne versus Fremantle at Marvel Stadium. This will be the first game back at Marvel Stadium since Peak's Summer Carnival Tour happened earlier this year. I got Fremantle by 1 point. Best players that game I'm going with is Luke Davies-Uniacke and Harry Sheasel for North Melbourne. For Fremantle, I got Andrew Brayshaw. For the game, I reckon North Melbourne will lead for most of the game, and then a late goal from Luke Jackson will give Fremantle a 1 point win. Hawthorn versus Melbourne at the MCG. I've got an upset brewing. I've got Hawthorn by 2 points. Best players for Hawthorn, I've got Manuel Chol and Jack Jitterman. For Melbourne, I got Christian Petrarca and Max Gawn. I reckon Max Gawn will have a great game because Hawthorn have got Ned Reeves in the ruck. And I reckon this will go neck and neck. Hawthorn will grab a late winner. That will be their first win against Melbourne in nearly 10 years. Sydney versus Essendon at the SCG. Oh boy, there's been a rivalry between these two whenever they go to Sydney. I got Sydney by 2 points. Best player for the Swans, I got Isaac Heaney and Brodie Grundy. For Essendon, I got Zach Merritt. There has always been a close game whenever the two teams face each other at the SCG. Bulldogs versus Gold Coast at Mars Stadium in Ballarat. And I've got Western Bulldogs by 10 points that game against the Gold Coast. My best players for the Bulldogs, I got Marcus Bontempelli and Aaron Norton. Gold Coast, I got Noah Anderson. The Bulldogs should be able to get a win in Ballarat, although they play very good football when they play in the country. Next up, we've got Richmond and Port Adelaide at the MCG. I've got an upset brewing. I got Richmond by 4 points. Just kidding. Port Adelaide by 52 points. Best players for Port, I got Connor Rosie, Zach Butters, and Todd Marshall. And I reckon Port Adelaide will win that game. And round 2, West Coast and GWS at Optus Stadium. I got GWS by 104 points. Best players for GWS, I've got Stephen Canelio, Josh Kelly, and Jesse Hogan again, but he'll kick 10. It's going to be a long season for West Coast. It's going to be a great year for GWS. I reckon this is only going to be the start of Harley Reid wanting to go home. That wraps up the second episode of Lachlan Does Footy. We'll be back in 2 weeks to review round 1 and 2 and to predict round 3. Thanks for watching.